Welcome to the Bee's Tales. I love dinosaurs. Do you? My favorite dinosaur is a Parasaurolophus. I think it looks really cute. What about you? Which is your favorite dinosaur? Now, most of the people I know love the Tyrannosaurus Rex because it's so powerful, isn't it? Now, today's story is about a Tyrannosaurus, but it's not a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It is a Tyrannosaurus Drip. Let's find out what the story is. Tyrannosaurus Drip, written by Julia Donaldson and illustrated by David Roberts. It has been published by Macmillan Books. The Tyrannosaurus Drip. In a swamp beside a river where the land was thick with vegetation, there lived a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs who roamed the water edge. Now, these are the duck-billed dinosaurs and they live in a swamp. Swamp is a place that has very soft mud and it's got some moisture content in it, and if you put your feet in, your feet just go in. Yeah, that is a swamp. Now, inside the swamp, what are they doing? They were hooting. They hooted, "Up with rivers!" And they hooted, "Up with reeds!" And they hooted, "Up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds." Now, these are vegetarian dinosaurs and they eat reeds and they eat water weeds and they drink a lot of water. Now, across the rushy river, on a hill on the other side, lived a mean Tyrannosaurus with his grim and grisly bride. Now, that is Mr. Tyrannosaurus and Mrs. Tyrannosaurus. And they shouted. Now, the other people were shouting about water and rivers and reeds and all that. No? Here on this side, the Tyrannosaurus is shouting about, "Up with hunting!" They shouted. "Up with war!" And they shouted. "Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!" Now, what do they eat? They are carnivorous. They are non-vegetarians and they eat dinosaurs, and they are looking across the river and they can see the duck-billed dinosaurs there. I don't know if you can see the picture clearly. That's Tyrannosaurus and his bride, and on the other side you have the duck-billed dinosaurs. But the two dinosauruses, so grisly, mean and grim, couldn't catch the duck-billed dinosaurs because they couldn't swim. And they muttered, "Down with water!" And they muttered, "Down with wet!" And they muttered, "What a shame that bridges aren't invented yet." No, they don't have any bridges, so they can't go across the river. Now this is a tough one. A little Compsognathus. Now that's a difficult name for a dinosaur. For short, we'll call her Comp. Now this Comp found a duckbill egg and stole it from a nest beside the swamp. And she swam with it and she ran with it and muttered, "Clever me! And won't the baby Comps be thrilled with duckbill egg for..." But something happened. She got caught. She dropped the egg in terror and went running for her life from the mean Tyrannosaurus and his grim and grisly wife. Now, the Tyrannosaurus and his wife thought that Comp would make a nice breakfast, but she ran for her life. There, can you see that? Yes. And the duckbill egg that was in her hand, that went rolling, and at last it came to rest in, of all the unlikely places, in the Tyrannosaurus's nest. There, the duckbill egg along with the T-Rex egg. Now the mother T had big jaws and great enormous legs, but her brain was rather little, and she couldn't count her eggs. I think she doesn't take her maths class seriously, so she doesn't know counting, so she doesn't know exactly how many eggs she has. And she sang, "Hatch out, my terrors, with your scaly little tails, and your spiky little toothies, and your scary little nails." Out hatched babies 1 and 2. Now, this song was so terrible that the babies came quickly out so that she would stop singing. Out hatched babies 1 and 2, as perfect as could be. But Mother T was horrified by baby number 3, and she grumbled, "He looks weedy." And she grumbled, "He looks weak." And she grumbled, "What long arms! And look, his mouth is like a beak." Why do you think that is? Because it was a duckbill dinosaur that was born there. "He just needs feeding up," said Dad, and gave the babies some meat. Now the Tyrannosauruses are carnivorous, so the babies eat the meat. So the first 2 gulped and guzzled, but the third one, that is the duckbill one, third refused to eat. And he said, "I'm really sorry." And he said, "I simply can't." And he said, "This meat looks terrible. I'd rather eat a plant." Oops. "A plant?" yelled Mum in horror, and Dad said, "Get a grip." His sisters found a name for him, Tyrannosaurus Drip. And they shouted, "Up with hunting!" And they shouted, "Up with war!" And they shouted, "Up with bellyfuls of duckbill dinosaur!" Poor Tyrannosaurus Drip tried hard to sing along, but the others yelled, "You silly Drip, you've got the words all wrong." For he hooted, "Down with hunting!" And he hooted, "Down with war!" And he hooted, "Down with bellyfuls of duckbill dinosaurs!" Sorry. Drip's sisters grew big enough to hunt with Dad and Mum, but they turned on Drip and told him, "You're not fierce enough to come." And he cried, "They've gone without me." And he cried, "Alackaday." And he cried, "This doesn't feel like home. I'm going to run away." Now he feels really miserable. So he ran off to the river, where he saw a lovely sight. A herd of duckbill dinosaurs, all hooting with delight. And they hooted, "Up with rivers!" And they hooted, "Up with reeds!" And they hooted, "Up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds!" And he stood there on the bank, and a sudden urge took hold of him, and he jumped into the water and discovered he could swim. And the duckbill dinosaurs came to greet him by the rushy river's edge, and they hooted, "Nice to see you!" And they hooted, "Have some veg!" And Drip, who was delighted that they hadn't run away, ate bellyfuls of water weeds and played with them all day. Then he gazed into the river and he asked them, "Who, oh who, is that creature in the water?" And they laughed and said, "It's you." Now, Tyrannosauruses don't swim, right? So they never go near the river. So he has never seen his reflection and he thinks he looks just like the other Tyrannosauruses. But now, when he looked into the river, and he saw a reflection, and he saw that he looked just like the other duck-billed dinosaurs. That night the lightning crackled and the storm blew down a tree and it fell across the river. Now what happens when a tree falls across the river? It becomes a bridge, isn't it? And what happens if there is a bridge? The Tyrannosauruses can cross over and come and eat the duck-billed dinosaurs. That's bad. Now when the tree fell across the river, all the trees cried out, "Yippee!" and they shouted, "Up with hunting!" and they shouted, "Up with war!" and they shouted, "Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaurs!" There, the duck-billed dinosaurs are all scared, and the two Tyrannosauruses are waiting for the tree to fall in place so that they can come and eat them. Drip's sisters stepped onto the bridge but began to frown, for there in front of them stood Drip, who yelled, "Look out! Look down!" And they looked into the water and they each let out a yelp, and one cried, "What a monster!" and the other one cried, "Help!" Why are they doing that? Because they also haven't seen their reflections and they're scared seeing their reflection. But their mother scolded, "Nonsense!" and she joined them on the tree. Then she looked into the water and she exclaimed, "Good gracious me!" The three of them stood trembling, and Dad said, "Get a grip! You're all of you as drippy as Tyrannosaurus Drip." He strode onto the bridge and he scoffed, "I bet there's nothing there." And then he looked into the water and he jumped into the air. He was so scared. Why? Can you see the reflection there? Scary, isn't it? Yes. And how the duckbills hooted when he landed with a crash and the tree bridge broke. And the four Tyrannosauruses went splash into the water, and sputtering and clinging onto the branches of the tree, they went whooshing down a waterfall and all the way to sea. The duck-billed dinosaurs are safe at last. And the duck-bills hooted happily. They hooted, "Hip, hip, hip! Hooray!" for the heroic and one and only Duck-billed Drip. Now he's got a new name now. He's no longer Tyrannosaurus Drip. He is Duck-billed Drip the Brave. Did you like the story? If you did, make sure that you like, comment and share this video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what should you do? Yes, you should subscribe now. See you soon. Make sure that you stay good. Bye-bye.